Still no Pepsi tonight. I don't know when they're coming. We're running low. This lady came in around 1, I'd say, and there was only a teeny bit of coffee left, so I just let her have it. And she's a person that I recognize. She's been in several times, and that was a fly or a mosquito, I don't know. And we've talked a little bit about, she's said stuff like they get profiled sometimes when they go into stores because they look a little bit odd, but honestly, to me they look normal. But I guess the dude has a really long beard and dreadlocks and some cool piercings, which to some people that's a little bit scary. And she's got like shortish black hair. Super cool people, honestly. My type of people. But apparently they get profiled sometimes because of their piercings and tattoos or whatever. But I was having a conversation with her one night, and I told her, I was like, you guys don't make me uncomfortable at all, and you never have. And I was like, it's a vibe that you get from people when they're up to something. And she's like, yeah. And every time that I've ever seen her, she's always like, be safe. I hope you're okay. And one time she told me because she heard some guy yelling, walking down the street and yelling at cars passing by. And it was around 4 a.m. or so, and I was doing the trash, and she told me about that just to be safe. And so I've always really appreciated that. But today she came in, she got the coffee, and I gave it to her for free. And then she's like, I have something for you, but I don't want you to get in trouble for it. And I'm like, I don't know, what is it? My first thought was weed. Not gonna lie. But it's not. She brought me bear mace. It's like pretty sick, actually. This is heavy duty, and I would only use this in like a super emergency because I already have this one, which is a little bit smaller, and it has like a UV spray where if I sprayed it on someone, it stains them, so that if they were ever caught by the police can shine the light and see they're stained with UV. That way, even if I don't happen to get them in the face, I still get it on their clothes and they're marked. But this stuff is for my super protection. And she's like, be really careful with it. It's bear mace. She's like, I saw it at the store the other day and it's really hard to get. So I thought of you. And so I got one, and she told me she's going to get me a holder too. And I was like, I'm so incredibly grateful. Hopefully I won't have to use it. Hopefully, that's always the hope, that you don't have to use it. I have never had to use this one that I have so far, fortunately. The last time that I got robbed that I had it on me, the better choice was to run, and I ran. So I don't think it was going to protect me from 2 different people, but the bear mice might if I sprayed it like really good and just like a at both of them at once. Maybe I could possibly get them in the eyes, but gotta be careful. This stuff is not a toy. It is for protection and only to be used if you are in an emergency, in immediate danger, and you need to get away. So hopefully I will never have to use it. But the fact that she thought of me and got it and brought it to me made me so happy. Like that she was thinking of me when she wasn't here, which is incredible. Honestly, incredible. It touched me so much. But then around 1:30, so I've got these 2 guys. I think they're roommates because I see them together a lot. But the one kid, I call them kids because they're 21. They're barely 21. The one kid has given me some shit about asking for ID before, but in a more polite way, like joking, like, come on, man, but like not serious. And when I pushed him on it, he'd be like, okay, and takes it out of his wallet. This other guy gave me shit. but like not just a little shit, a lot of shit. When I told him, I was like, can I please scan your ID? Because we have a new computer system now and it's asking to scan them specifically. And there is a workaround when people have like a passport or something or a Mexican driver's license. I put in the birth date. And if they're old and they don't have it on them, I can put in their birth date. I just asked for their birth date. But with this kid, fucking, he acts like a kid. I'm gonna call him a kid. So I asked for his ID and he's like, I come here all the time. I don't need to show you my ID. I'm like, I know you come here all the time, but I still need to scan it. We have a computer thing and it wants me to scan IDs. And he's like, but I come here all the time. I don't need to show you ID. And he was getting aggressive. And so at this point, like if he was nicer about it, if he had been like, oh man, I'm so sorry, I forgot it at home, I might have been like, okay, what's your birth date? And put in the birth date. But no, this guy was being a shitlord. So I wasn't going to play his game. Oh, also, another reason I was really wary about him is because my coworker, when I came into work tonight, my coworker told me that this kid had stolen a beer earlier in the night on his shift. And he told me about it. And he said it might have been like there's a little bit of plausible deniability because he's usually drunk, like constantly, always. I've never seen him sober, to be honest. I don't even know what that would look like, actually. And so he came up with 3 beers, could only pay for 2 because he only had enough money for 2. And when my coworker took the one off, he paid for the 2, he grabbed all 3 and walked out the door. And my coworker was like, not sure what to do about the situation. And he's like, I don't know if he just didn't realize or wasn't thinking about it. But no, after tonight, he 100% knew what he was doing. I don't care if he's always drunk. He knew what he was doing. He's being a shitlord. He's always a shitlord. So he started getting me shit about the ID, and I told him, I was like, no. And he's like, I'll go get it, and I'll show you. And I'm like, okay, go get it. That's what I'm asking you to do. And then he starts walking away. He's like, you fucking nerd. I'm like, honestly, just laughed at that. Because when is the last time you heard somebody use nerd as an insult? So his friend or his roommate or whatever came up, and I asked him for ID. And he very politely took it out of his wallet and let me scan it. And I was like, thank you for being nice about it. And he didn't say anything about his roommate or his friend or whatever. Honestly, like if he had just like offered to pay for it himself and use his ID and then had his friend give him the cash or whatever, I would have been okay with that, but he didn't want to do that. He didn't even offer, didn't even think about it. So I don't know. Maybe they're not good friends after all. Maybe they're just roommates. He didn't stick up for him at all. He didn't say anything. He just seemed embarrassed about this other person's behavior. So he leaves. Then the shitlord comes back. And he's like, see, I fucking brought it, fucking bitch ass. Like, I'm like, hey, listen, if you're gonna sit there and call me names, I don't have to sell it to you. I can just tell you to leave. And he's like, no, I'm a customer. You have to sell to me. And I was like, sitting there and like testing my patience. At what point do I just refuse to sell to him? But there was, and I told him, like, straight up, if you're gonna be a dick, I don't have to sell to you. And he's like, what? I'm not being a dick. I'm like, I hear everything you're saying. You're not being quiet. I can hear you. And he's like, oh, whatever, fuck. And he brings up the beer. And I'm like, I don't trust him at this point. So I'm holding on to it while I'm waiting. He throws the ID at me. And I'm like, thank you for your ID. I scan it. Everything is good. He pays in mostly change. And so I make sure and count it first before I give it to him because I don't trust him. I counted it. I'm like, okay, you're good. And he just grabs it from me and walks away. And he's like, He also, at some point, he's like, get your bitch ass manager out here. I'm like, first of all, she doesn't live here. Second of all, I don't think she would appreciate you calling her bitch ass. But then as he's leaving, walking away with the thing that he did pay for, he's like, fuck you. And I yelled right back, I'm like, fuck you too. Don't come back. This will probably not come back to haunt me. Honestly, he will probably tell my manager about it tomorrow, because this is the type of person who comes in multiple times a day to buy more alcohol throughout the day. Honestly, I don't know why he doesn't just go buy a fucking case. Because that's what my mom did, so that she wouldn't have to go to the store constantly. She'd just buy like a 30-pack of Budweiser and keep it in her room, and like periodically put some in the fridge. That way she'd only have to buy it a couple times a week. That's a story to unpack for another day. But yeah, damn, it's expensive buying single packs. Why doesn't he just buy a case? Anyway, I had it in my mind, if he came back again tonight, I would tell him, no, I'm not serving you. Because I am allowed to do that. If someone is being really obnoxious or really a problem, I can tell them to get the fuck out. Get the fuck out. And it's so funny, in contrast to the lady earlier who was so sweet that she thought of me enough to bring me bear mace for my protection. And then right after that is this bullshit. While he was in here, also, I had another customer standing around, and he was a regular. He knows me really well. And he has never seen me angry. So he was just like, whoa. He is quiet, didn't say anything until the guy left. Then he came up to the counter with his stuff. And I scan it because he's buying beer also, but he has ID, and he's polite about it when I ask him if I can scan it. So I scan his ID, and I go, thank you for not calling me a nerd for asking your ID. And he's like, that's crazy, man. I don't understand why people are like this. I hope the other kid who is nicer gets away from this one kid, because I feel like he is going to drag him down. There's certain people that if you just hang out with too much, they will influence your attitude. They'll influence the way you interact with the world. And this one kid is really sweet. And I actually worry about the fact that he is drinking all the time. Like, he is also the type of person who comes in and buys alcohol multiple times in a day. And I just honestly really worry about his health, because I've seen what that does to people long term, you know, especially when you are only 21 and you're drinking this much, this consistently every day. You can't just quit cold turkey, because you'll actually get really sick. You can die from alcohol